This Thursday, 22nd day of May 2025. Welcome to the Lord Abwaga TV newspaper review. Straight away we move on to the Standard, whereby the main headline reads, "Fumbling Mudavadi." The Standard goes ahead and writes, "A public uproar is brewing after Kenya backed Tanzania's detention and deportation of Kenyans, triggering a storm over government's double-faced stance on regional relations. Even as activists Boniface Mwangi remain missing, the Prime Cabinet Secretary is applauding heavy-handed crackdowns in the name of neighborly ties, but plays host to dissenters from Sudan and DRC." There we see a picture of Boniface Mwangi, who is currently detained in Tanzania. We see a picture of Martha Karua, who was deported from Tanzania. We see a picture of former Chief Justice Willy Mutunga, who was also deported from Tanzania. It is quite unfortunate, and Senator Sifuna said that our Minister for Foreign Affairs taking Tanzania's side on the deportation of Kenyans is wild. Who put these people in power? That is what Senator Sifuna is asking.
As a Kenyan leader, I know that we leaders have a responsibility to Kenyans and no other person. I was deeply embarrassed, Honorable Speaker, that at a time when people are being deported from our neighboring country, and if you look at my passport, Honorable Speaker, I have the blue passport. It says East Africa Community. When I was a member of the Law Society of Kenya, Honorable Speaker, at the council, we used to do something called, push for something called cross-border practice. There are lawyers who are qualified from the University of Dar es Salaam, Tanzanians, who practice law in our Kenyan courts. There are students at the Kenya School of Law from Tanzania and from Uganda. I know lawyers who went to Kampala International University and Makerere, who qualified there, and they have come to the Kenya School of Law. They are practicing law in Kenya. So therefore, Honorable Speaker, for us to have a situation where people cannot be allowed to move freely in the community is something that we must call out. Honorable Speaker, I have heard people trying to justify, saying, oh, these are activists. Activism in itself, Honorable Speaker, is not a crime. I know Tanzanian law, there's no law that says activism is a crime, Honorable Speaker. So for me, I was deeply embarrassed to see our Foreign Affairs Minister, who should be our foremost defender, adopt a very nonchalant, a very laid-back, a very lazy attitude yesterday on Citizen, Honorable Speaker, that he has not even summoned the Tanzanian ambassador to ask him what was the reason why these brothers of ours were expelled. As we speak, there are Kenyans whose whereabouts are still unknown. Just show some concern for your countrymen. That is the job that you are given to do, Honorable Speaker. So I was a bit disappointed. And we need to, as a community of nations in East Africa, we must, Honorable Speaker, call out dictatorial tendencies whenever they emerge, because we are all brothers. If you ask Senator Eddy at his border in Isebania, people trade and cross over freely. We are brothers and sisters, and we cannot allow a situation where we have Kenyans being deported. At least when I was deported from Angola, I took it in stride. By the way, nobody in government bothered, Honorable Speaker. But I was okay, because me, I can take care of myself. Plus, Angola is far away. We don't share any borders. I don't think I know any Kenyan who's married to an Angolan. It was okay. But Tanzania are our brothers and sisters. And we must, Honorable Speaker, stand up for every Kenyan. This is the reason why, Honorable Speaker, when people start conversations about patriotism, it is very difficult to love a country that does not care about you. That I know that if I am in a quandary somewhere outside Kenya, the Kenyan government, or at least the CS for Foreign Affairs, will not care what happens to Sifuna. Honorable Speaker, it breaks my heart. If I was stuck in southern Lebanon when the war began, would this government really come for me? That is the question I ask myself. We are on our own. Then when we complain, people say, oh, you don't love your country. Love, Honorable Speaker, is reciprocal. You love me, I love you. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
But I think Prime Cabinet Secretary, that is Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, was reckless on this issue, whereby Musalia Mudavadi was seen as supporting what Tanzania did unto Kenyans. It was quite unfortunate, because Kenyans were deported from Tanzania for just being in Tanzania. Their mistakes was to be in Tanzania, whereby they had their passports, they had their legal documentations that allowed them to be in Tanzania, but they were deported. And it was unfortunate that Prime Cabinet Secretary, Minister for Foreign Affairs Musalia Mudavadi, was supporting Tanzania government for doing that injustice to Kenyans. Listen in to what Musalia Mudavadi said when he was on a TV interview at Citizen TV.
Tanzanian president talking about utovu wa Kenya. Are you intending to protest this at all?
No, I will not protest.
Why not?
Because I think there's some truth.
Uh-huh.
There's some truth.
Okay.
Let us face a few facts. The level of etiquette, the level of insults that we see bandied in Kenya, even though we have the freedom of speech, is sometimes going overboard. All right? So to the extent that she's saying that people sometimes have gone to extremes in their utterances in Kenya, it's a fact.
That is quite unfortunate, since it is coming from Foreign Affairs Minister, and not only Foreign Affairs Minister, Prime Cabinet Secretary, who is supposed to defend Kenyans at all costs in any matter or whatsoever. Because basically there is no crime that these people committed for them to be deported back to Kenya from Tanzania. There is no crime that Boniface Mwangi did for him to be illegally detained by Tanzanians. That is quite unfortunate. And it is high time that Prime Cabinet Secretary puts this matter to rest and call for order from Tanzania's side. Because I believe we are living in the East Africa community. They don't have any reason or whatsoever to mistreat Kenyans. That is quite unfortunate. And to that issue, straight away we move on to the Daily Nation, whereby the main headline reads, House spying deal split Ruto men. The Standard goes ahead and writes, fresh court fillings expose a bitter falling out among State House aides, a chaotic communication strategy, and how President Ruto's frustration that his government was losing public appeal prompted the search for surveillance software. There we see a picture of President William Samoei Ruto's men, Jayesh Saini. We see Eric Ngeno. We see a picture of Dennis Itumbi. Quite unfortunate that President William Samoei Ruto was willing to invest 130 million Kenya shillings just to buy a spying software to spy on what Kenyans are saying onto the social media platforms. That is quite unfortunate, and it seems President William Samoei Ruto has completely lost the war in governing Kenya. Because if a president can take that initiative to go and procure a propaganda tool, you know, 130 million can construct a fully equipped level 3 hospital. 130 million can. A fully equipped level 3 hospital, 130 million can do that job. But President William Samoei Ruto saw the need to divert those funds and procure a propaganda tool. But Mungu ni nani? Maneno ililipuka and they had to cancel the deal. Sasa, the contractor mwenye alikuwa wa supply the propaganda software that will be monitoring Kenyans, what Kenyans post on social media, amewapeleka kotini. Na maneno imechemuka because we see from confessions tunaona Ngeno anasema he was the initial orchestrator of that deal. But they had to rope in Jayesh Saini because he is the money man. Yeye ndiye angewasaidia pesa kidogo ya logistics hapa kule before each and everything falls in place. Then you know Dennis Itumbi pia akapo in the periphery. Now Eric Ngeno is complaining that in one or another Dennis Itumbi alitaka kujipendekeza kwa rais so that it can look like this project was his. An issue which didn't sound well with Eric Ngeno. Now, again coming still on this deal, Jayesh Saini pia alitaka kujipendekeza kwa rais. Aonekane yeye ndio financial wa hii project before the government now pays the contractor officially. which didn't also sit well with Eric Ngeno, because Eric Ngeno was the initial orchestrator to this deal. Sasa hapo maneno imechemuka, nasikia wanaanikana huko kotini. As the matter is moving on, I'll be giving you brief venye wanaume wanazidi kuanikana, wanazidi kutoa siri zao huko nje. But I think since the Daily Nation has exposed it, how they are split, they'll have to bring their house in order. I think today we don't have much onto our newspaper review. For this and many more, subscribe onto our YouTube channel at Lord Abwoga TV. Remember to press the notification bell so that when we come up with this interesting political and governance content, YouTube will automatically notify you. Till next time, goodbye.